So,
And to share your screen is the green button in the middle on the bottom.
okay. I got it. Great. Thanks. I was going to, and then I'm going to put this in present mode. Can everyone see my screen now? We are going to, I saw a couple of thumbs up. I can't see everyone on the screen. So, so how to set your team goals in 2019. Okay, so the goals of the training, and we'll go over agenda and introductions in just shortly. So for the training goals for this webinar, it's connect with Mothers Out Front leaders across the country. Orient people to the goal setting tool. Max and staff and national training team members have done a really incredible job coming up with this goal setting tool to help teams set their goals for 2019. And then learn how to actually use it. So so Max will first walk through the tool and then go through a practice exercise actually using it to set goals for your team. And then develop an appreciation for why this can be a useful tool. Why do we need to use this tool to set goals? So the agenda for tonight, and I'm realizing, sorry for this. So the agenda for tonight, hold on, there we go. Okay, so gone over goals, the agenda, and we'll do introductions so folks can see who else is on this call, this webinar tonight. And then Max will walk us through an introduction to the tool itself. And then we'll break out into small groups. We've done it mostly based on states. And each small group, there will be 4 small groups. We'll have one staff facilitator to help walk the groups through the tool. Question and answer. And then we'll have a small group report back. And then Vanessa will walk us through where can we get support for this tool for setting goals after this training is over. And then next steps. And finally, training evaluation. We're constantly trying to evaluate our work and see if the goals of the training have actually been met. And then invite you to share any additional feedback you have for us. So moving on to introductions. So we want to make this fairly quick because there are a bunch of us on the call. So if you'll share your name, your town, your state, and then one goal you have for today's training. So let's see. I actually am not looking at a list of people on the call. So I saw Barbara. Barbara, I saw your name on there. Would you like to go first?
My name's Barbara Barlow. I live in Fredericksburg, Virginia, which means though I'm closer to DC, I'm really looped in with the Richmond group, which has just started. And the goal that I have is to learn how to use this tool that Max prepared, which was presented to us during our leadership conference yesterday.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Who would like to go next?
I'd be glad to. Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
I'm Kathy Picali, and I'm from San Francisco, California. We're just establishing our goals, our relatively new chapter for the coming year, so this is really timely.
Thank you very much. Who would like to go next?
I can go. I'm Sue Swanson. I'm from Bedford, Massachusetts. And my goals are to help set specifics within a broader goal and help us measure success.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sue. And I see Stephanie and Monique in Keene, New York. Would y'all like to go next? Welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we're using a totally new system. So I can't speak for Monique, but one of mine is figuring out how to use the library smart screen to do group calls.
Awesome.
But I'm just really excited to see this roll out, and I think I'm going to learn a lot. And this is my friend Monique.
Well, I want to find out the tool. I'm curious to find out how what we're already doing fits into the projecting for 2019.
Wonderful. Thank you both. And for jumping into learning how to use a new technology to do so. David?
Hi, I'm David Backer. I'm from Newton, Massachusetts. And what I want to do is be able to communicate back to the rest of the team in Newton what's going on in this group and how to use the goal setting tool and match that up with what we're doing.
Awesome. I love that, David, taking it back to your team. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Who has not gone?
I haven't gone. Look, Joy. I'm Joy Gurry. I'm from Ipswich, Mass. And I want to know why this tool is useful and how to use it.
Wonderful. Hope we'll address those questions, Joy. Thank you. Who's next? Kathleen?
That may have been
Hi.
me.
Hi.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
is there another Kathleen?
No. Well, yeah, but I use Kathy, so you're on.
So I'm Kathleen Scanlon. I'm from the Brookline team. I'm also looking to take back the information back to my team to help set goals for next year with the new strategy.
Thank you, Kathleen. Sarah? Sarah, are you there? Are you muted?
Oh, I'm sorry, Neely. Sarah just said that she is still figuring out her audio.
Got it. Thank you, Max, because I cannot see the chat. So Betsy, you're next. You're muted. No, you don't have audio?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
great.
now we
Hi,
can hear
everybody. Hi, I'm Betsy. I'm on staff in Massachusetts. Excited to be here. I don't know what my goal for this is. To have all the teams that I work with have this introduction to the goal setting tool to make the work that we're going to do together that much easier.
Thank you, Betsy. Atel?
Hi, everybody. I'm Atel from Worcester, Mass, also on the Massachusetts team. And my goal is to take this tool and introduce it to our newest team in Worcester and help the other teams I support utilize it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Atel. Vanessa?
Hi, I'm Vanessa Rule, and my name on the screen says I'm Alesta Severe, which is very confusing, but that's because I logged in through her account. And I'm the Director of Learning and Expansion, and so my goal here is this is a brand new training, and so I'm excited to see how it goes, so we can learn from it and hopefully replicate it.
Thank you, Vanessa. Janet? You're muted.
Hi.
There you are. Yes.
I'm Janet Grote. I'm on the staff in Massachusetts as well, and eager to hear a little bit more deeply about this and think about how we can effectively work with our teams to use it to set strong campaigns and growth goals for 2019. Thank you for doing the training.
Thank you, Janet, for joining us. Max?
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. I'm Max. I'm our data administrator here, and I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm really excited to walk us all through this tool today.
Did I miss anyone? Kath, did Sarah?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
This is Joni. Sorry, I do not have video.
That is okay.
My name is Joni, and I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, And this is the first I've heard about this tool, so I'm just interested in learning more about it and seeing how it might be able to help us.
Awesome. Welcome, Joni. Sarah, were you able to get your audio worked out? I don't think so.
Looks like she hasn't gotten it worked out yet.
Okay. Did I miss anyone before we move on?
Did the other Kathy get to go?
Kathy?
We've both gone.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. So at this point, so thank you all very much. And now we're going to move into an introduction to this tool. Max, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, if you're ready to take it away.
I am. Do we want to go through the agenda for today first, or do we want for me to
You know what?
go?
I think we do, because I realized I did not do that. So thank you very much. That was, there's the agenda. Can y'all, am I sharing my screen still? Can y'all see my screen?
You are not. Also, somebody asked in the chat, how about Terry? And I know that Terry, Terry is our Director of Operations on staff, and I believe...
Well, I can introduce myself.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, Terry.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah, Terry here, and I'm sorry I'm not sharing my screen, but I'm not sharing my screen. I'm not on video. But yeah, I just want to sit in, as many of you are doing, to learn about this tool. I know that we've had this in one of our staff calls, and I just want to kind of sit in on more of this training. So nice to see all of you, and thanks for doing this training.
Yes, thank you. Terry, I'm sorry I missed you earlier. Thank you so much for joining. So to go quickly through the agenda, we are almost right on time. So goals, agenda, introductions. Max will spend about 10 minutes walking us through the tool itself. Then we'll break out into small groups with a facilitator for 45 minutes. And then there'll be a small group report back. And then Vanessa will walk us through where can we get support from here. Betsy will lead us through next steps. And then at the end, you'll have an opportunity for training evaluation where you will share if you feel the goals of the training were met, which will be reposted. So please just keep that in mind as we move through this. And so we did introductions already. And so Max, I'm going to turn it over to you.
That sounds wonderful. So what I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to share my screen, and I'll show everyone an example of the tool. I know that some folks prefer to look through new things on their own. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm putting a link in the chat to a template of the tool. And I want to make sure everyone can see that. So folks are able to follow along on their own or watch what I'm sharing on my screen. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Okay. Can folks see my screen all right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Awesome. So hi, everyone. Again, my name is Max, and I'm the data administrator here. I'm going to go ahead and walk us through this tool in about 10 minutes or so. I think what we'll do is we'll have breakout sessions in just a few minutes. And I think what we'll ask right now is just if folks have any questions. We might have some time after I walk us through this to take some questions, and folks will have some opportunities in their breakout groups to ask questions as well. All right, so this is our tool. It's really exciting. I'm really glad to have the opportunity to share it with you, and I'll just get started. So the purpose of this tool is to allow you and your team to set your impact, story, and people goals for 2019, and to be able to track the progress that your team is making towards these goals. at any time throughout the year, and to use that data and that information about the progress that you've made to be making decisions about what activities, what tactics your team is going to take to meet your goals. So that's just a brief introduction to how we want to use this tool. So we are encouraging teams to be using this tool as you're setting your goals right now, and to also use it throughout the year to be able to track and inform your work. So really two main purposes for this tool. As you can see, this tool is in the form of a Google Sheet, and there are two tabs that this tool consists of. The first tab is what I'm showing you right now, and the essence of it is it's a space for instructions for how to best use this tool. So we have 6 instructions, or 5 instructions, I should say. And then what we also wanted to provide you is with a list of 10 key terms that are critical and common on our work, and we want to make sure that you have a resource to best understand them as you go about setting your goals and tracking them this year. So I might, instead of sort of listing out each instruction and term for you right now, I might just pause and reflect on the ones that stand out the most to me. So I'll clarify that. So we're encouraging teams to set 3 main goals in your work. Your team's impact goal, your story goal, and your people goals for 2019. One thing that is new about what we're encouraging teams to, in terms of how they're setting their people goals this year, is we want for teams to be setting them by each step of the ladder of engagement, and that's something that I'll explain in a little bit. So what, and maybe another item that stands out to me is that we provided space for each team to name opportunities for research and development in your work. An example of that could be maybe your team wants to research whether working on a community choice aggregation campaign next year is an achievable win and a good campaign for your team to take on. I mentioned before that this is a tool that's meant for each team to reflect on throughout the year as you're reflecting on the progress that you're making towards your goals and thinking about what activities you need to conduct and organize to achieve them. You can see we've suggested that teams might want to take a look at this at least once a quarter, 4 times a year. Totally up for you and your team to decide on how often you would like to refer back to this tool. Okay. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and skip over some of these key terms, and maybe those are items that we can reflect on in our breakout groups. At the bottom of tab 1, you see a couple of links that are extrapolated from our organizing toolkit that folks can refer to online. In these 3 links are a few exercises and activities that are meant to help teams, and especially teams that are relatively new to this work, to be thinking about how to best set our goals, like our impact goals, for example, and are meant to serve as a prompt to help us think about how we best set those goals for the first time. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to our second tab in this tool. So this tab is really where we want to be storing our goals that we're setting for the year and also our progress to them. I realize that I'm showing our tool template that is blank. I'm just going to move over to a tool that Neely actually filled out for a team in New York State. So I'll just walk us through from the top to bottom in terms of what we're seeing here. So we can see that Neely, so in row 4, the first item that we see here are metrics that we want to be setting for the upcoming year. The first goal that we are prompted to set is what our impact goal is for the year. For the Lighthouse Wind Project, the goal is for the approval of this project by the local town boards and the state. And there are many examples of what a great impact goal can be in our work. So in the rows below, we see some prompts to help us think about how we're going to best achieve that impact goal. So examples of these prompts include, what are the activities that we're going to organize, and how exactly will these activities engage people? Another prompt that really stands out to me is, how do these goals and tactics reflect a commitment to racial and economic justice? That might be a prompt that we want to set aside some time in our breakout groups to think about. On the right side of this tab, we see spaces for each season. And what this is a space for you and your team to be revisiting this tool and to be reflecting on the progress that you're making towards your goal this year. So I'm just gonna, slide down a little bit in this tool. So the next prompt we see is a prompt to set your team's story goal for the year. So here we can see spaces to reflect on what our story goal was in the past year if our team had one. We can think about how many stories our team has generated to date. And we can think about what the number of stories we want to achieve is by the end of the year. And so similarly to what we saw in the past example, so we see prompts that help us think about all the activities that we need to be doing to be generating these stories and how those activities will engage people. So as I continue to scroll down, so here, here's a section that allows us to set goals for our people goals. This is going to be a little bit different this year than it has been in the past. And the way that it's different is we're asking for teams to set each of their people goals for each step of the ladder of engagement. Those steps are the number of people who are supporting our movement in some way. And one way to think about that is folks who are in our base, in our community. Another goal is the number of people who are taking action or who are volunteering in our campaign and in our community. And then the last goal is the number of people who are leading in our movement. So these are folks like you who are on your team who have specific roles in your work. What's unique about this tool is that, so your team has its own unique tool, and that sheet has links to Nation Builder, our database, where you're able to reflect on your people goals in real time. So for example, if I was a leader on the Lakeshore team and I was using this tool, what I can do is I can click on this link that says supporting, number of people supporting our movement. If I am trained and have access to Nation Builder, what I'll be able to do is I can click on this link, and it will take a little bit of time. It will take me directly to the place in Nation Builder where I can see the progress to my people goal. I'm really sorry, I'm not sure why this is taking a bit long to load. I guess it's the weekend for Nation Builder as well. And I might, I might go back to that. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is what it would look like, is you would go, if you follow the link, it would take you to Nation Builder, and you would be able to see, for example, that if I'm a leader on the Lakeshore team, that I see we have 31 people who are in our base right now. So this can be a really helpful tool to allow folks to be tracking the progress that you're making to your goals in real time. Speaking of time, I'm aware that I'm going a little bit over, so I'm just going to wrap up. We see really similar prompts here to the ones that we've been seeing throughout this document. So prompts that encourage us to think about what activities and tactics we're going to organize to meet these people goals. And at the bottom of the doc, we see that space that I had referred to before that allow us to set what we're calling internal team goals and research. This is a completely optional space that we do not expect for each and every team to fill out. But for those of you who want to identify what your research goals are for this year, or an example of a research goal, like I mentioned before, could be, thinking about what campaign your team wants to work on in the next year. And also any other team goals that you might want to be setting this year. So for example, if a tactic like door-to-door canvassing is a really important activity for your team, you might decide that you set a goal for how many canvasses you organize in your community, or how many meetings you organize with elected officials to change their mind about a particular policy. So that's our tool in a nutshell. And I think I'm going to pass it back over to Neely.
Thank you, Max. So now what we are going to do, you may have a number of questions. Let's see, I will share my screen now with the structure. That didn't work. That did not work. So we're going into small groups, and I was hoping to share the structure of the small group with you all. And actually, I think it just, oh, there it is. I don't know why it's not working. But Vanessa is going to put us into small groups. They are mostly state-based. And the structure of this small group, I'm going to put in the chat since my screen share is not working. So the first 15 minutes is going to be question and answer. If you have any questions that came up on that, and then you'll have 25 minutes to practice using the tool. And part of that 25 minutes is like a 5 to 10 minutes just to look at the tool for your team, to read through it, think about it, start thinking about how you might fill it in, given what you know and understand about where your team is headed in 2019. And then each person will have an opportunity to share what goals they think make sense for their team. And I want to be clear here that the expectation is not that you're here to set goals for your team for 2019 and go back and say, hey, guess what? I got these great goals for us. But as an opportunity to practice the process of setting the goals. And it is, depending on how it goes for you this evening, it could be what you take back to your team for discussion and decision making around your team's 2019 goals. So let's see. Practice using the tool, and then you'll do a 5-minute small group debrief and feedback just about the session itself, the 45-minute session. And then we'll come back into the big group, and each group will have 1 minute. If you can each group can choose one person to report back from your group. That'll take about a minute per group. So about 5 minutes, and then we'll do some wrap up after that. So before we get split up into the groups, are there any questions? And if there are, please unmute. You can also share in the chat. Vanessa, are you?
I might just.
Yeah, go for it, Max.
Sorry, I'll add that, and I apologize, my internet has been a little bit unstable. What we have is, as I mentioned, we have a tool for each of your teams. I've shared that with the facilitators of each of our breakout groups, and what I might do right now is I might also just put a link to them in the chat. I did see, Sue, your question. You noticed that in the template that I shared out, the link took you directly to the sandbox. So what we want to do is, and our facilitators might be able to just share this with you. I'll just put it in the chat now. Oops, and I just saw that the links did not follow through in the chat. I apologize. what our facilitators will do is they'll share with each of you the exact tool for your team. Sorry about that.
Max, I think you might want to close some windows in your, because I just tried to chat to you directly and it says you're not in the meeting. So I think your bandwidth is really low.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please, Kathleen.
So I didn't attend the strategy session last week, and should our goals be really working for the strategy that's going to be coming, more, becoming more solidified soon, hopefully? Because I'm not really sure how these goals will interact with that. And part of it is just I'm not aware of what was completely discussed or decided on.
Can I take that?
That'd be great. Thanks,
Please do,
Janet.
Janet. Yes.
Hi. So Kathleen's referring to the Massachusetts statewide strategy session that was held last weekend. And our thinking as organizers, and this is the same thinking of the Mass leadership team, has always been that it's great when community teams set their goals consistent with the overall state strategy. It's great. It makes everything easier if we're all kind of rowing in the same direction. But Kathleen, you really do have the freedom as a community team to pick goals that you think and campaigns that you think are most important for Brookline. And so if there's something that you've identified that you think is a really important win and it's going to build your team and it's not completely the same as the state strategy, we can talk about that, but the underlying thing is that you decide what's most important for your team.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's kind of how it's always been, but I just want to make sure I understood because I've been a little bit out of that loop. So yeah. Thanks for clarifying that.
It's a good question. Thank you, Kathleen. Vanessa, I think we're ready to go into the groups now.
Okay, I'm gonna click on a button and you're all gonna go into groups and hopefully that'll work.
So we're a little behind time. We'll have maybe 40 minutes for this section. Okay, here we go. Hello.
Hi.
So we have like 25 minutes of training left and like 17 minutes until 6 o'clock. So I'm going to let groups report back and then find the time somewhere to shorten the time somewhere. But just to be aware that we do want to end at 6. But I'm excited to hear what teams came up with. So are we all back now? Not quite. Not quite.
It's possible that Kathleen Scanlon might have accidentally left the whole thing. I'm not sure.
Oh, I see her actually.
Oh, she is there. Oh, good. Oh, good. Good. I'm glad you didn't get lost. But Janet wrote her, she had connection problems, so she did get lost in the ether.
Okay.
I think that might be everyone, yeah?
Are we all back now? We lost a few people. We were up to like 17, but Janet dropped off. Okay, so we'll move right along so we can wrap up by 6 o'clock. So I'm going to attempt this screen share thing again for a small group report back. And I'm going to go, so one person from each group has a minute or less to, let's see. Hold on, I'm really not good at this screen share thing. I'm sorry. It's not the same as WebEx. So Stephanie, I'll actually start with you. If you want to report back from New York.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Just specifically on how we'll bring it back. So it was really helpful to talk it through with Neely, and I think one of the main next steps that we realized is asking ourselves that question, and we'd like to have Neely at our meeting via technology on November 14th, which would be really good timing, because one thing we talked about is their impact goals and also capacity building goals. So we want to make sure we talk through both of those. So anyway, I guess mainly the strategy is having an organizer at our next meeting.
Awesome. Let's see. What about Max and Electus group? Max and
Hey,
Vanessa's group.
Vanessa, don't confuse people. I know it's really confusing.
Sorry, Vanessa.
Does somebody from our group want to report back? We didn't pick somebody. Sorry.
Yeah, I apologize. Maybe Joni, Barbara, or Kathy, do you want to maybe reflect on one of the questions that we talked about that helped you think about how you'll set your impact goal this year?
Kathy, you're muted. It looks like you're talking, but you're muted. Unmute.
I guess I will jump in. I was hoping to hear from Joni, but
go for it, Barbara. You got this.
I would say the most impactful thing that I'm walking away with is the strategy in thinking more holistically. So in terms of how all these pieces fit together, and pretty excited about that because it's going to increase the impacts when you get down and you drill down and you think, okay, this is the impact we want to make, but like you said, how many people do we need to do these different things while we're building this campaign? And then having the time frames, which you're looking at your deliverables and understanding that it's a living document, that it allows you to come back every quarter whenever you want to and say, not only did we meet this goal, but why didn't we meet it? And then drill down and then continually readjust. And I don't know, it makes me feel more empowered because there's strategy to it. Okay.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Barbara. And let's see. So who was in Janet's group?
And Kathleen.
Sue and I were in that group, and I'm the designated person. So we talked about how the the goal setting tool is going to be good for, providing specific guidelines to help guide our conversations. But we do worry about not hitting some of the more measurable goals. And that came up because I was able to pull up the goals that my team did last year. I'm like, oh, well, we didn't do that. Because frankly, it takes a lot of time to cut half the mass lane in Brookline. It's not going to be done in a year. So our team last year had done some kind of overarching statement above all our goals to kind of clarify what the change we wanted to see essentially in our community. And that was helpful. So I think it's important not to feel like you didn't accomplish the goal if you didn't hit the number. So when I go back to my team, I know we'll start by looking at the goals from last year, because a lot of our goals are going to continue with our campaigns into next year. And it's not that we failed, it's just we're still working at it. So
I think
so I talked a lot about that.
Yeah, I think that's great. You're raising such a good point around like the word goal setting has often inspired like kind of fear and like, oh my God, no, because it feels like a setup to failure, but that's not the purpose at all.
Right.
The purpose is to have a clear like reason for doing, right? And then something by which to evaluate how you're doing. So like Barbara said, you can adjust and like change what you're doing, how you're doing it, where you're doing it, etc.
Yeah.
So
right.
Thank you so much for sharing. Let's see, who do we have next? Virginia?
Oh, we did Virginia already.
Oh, we did. I'm
I think
sorry.
Betsy's group.
Betsy, that was Okay, yeah, Betsy's group.
Yeah, does anyone in my group want to share anything? We didn't get to the summarizing part.
Any summaries from Betsy's group?
Anybody have any good takeaways? Oh man.
I think it was useful to talk about some specific examples about what are some good examples of stories or tactics and also about getting the word out. That's the kind of thing that I'm going to try and sum up when I talk to the rest of the group about what was this all about. So that was helpful.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, David. So, okay, we have about 10 minutes left, and thank you all so much. I'm just so excited about your goal setting and the work you did in these small groups and what is to come. So I'm going to turn it over to Vanessa to walk.
I'll be super quick because of time.
Go for it. Yep.
Yeah. So basically, you have 3 sources for getting support beyond this meeting on goal setting. One is your field organizers, right? So whoever is sort of your community organizer that you're working with in your state is somebody you can always call up and say, we're working on goal setting, we need support, help us out. We're developing a core of members who are willing to be supporting other people doing this work. Right now we only have 1, but one of my goals is hopefully by this time next year, we'll have like 10. So that person right now is Sue Stafford, and she's a grandmother in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and she helped develop this tool, and she's totally happy to talk to any of you. And so I will send her email to all of you after this meeting. And then the third one is our organizing toolkit, which I spent a lot of time working on last year, and I'm gonna share my screen for a second. And so if you can share my screen, if you can see my screen, you go to the main Mothers Up Front website. This is the mothersupfront.org, and you go to resources. You click on organizing toolkit, and whoa, that didn't go to the right thing. Organizing toolkit. And this organizing toolkit, if you haven't been here, and you need to log in if you don't have one, so you need to sign up and have a password, but then you have access to this. And there's an introductory video, and then we have, it's organized by sort of the different practices that you need to sort of win a campaign. And if you go to develop your campaign, which is module 4, it'll help you, like, how do you set an impact goal? How do you set your people goals? And it's got resources like worksheets and things like that. So for this particular training, Module 4 of our organizing toolkit is a really, really great resource. And if you haven't checked this out yet, I encourage you to. Every module has a little video, and we put a lot of time into it, and I think hopefully it'll help. So that's it. That's what I have.
Great. That's helpful.
Awesome. Thank you, Vanessa. So now I will turn it over to Betsy.
Awesome. So before we get off this call in the next 7 minutes, I would just love to hear one next step from everybody on the call about, you know, what you're going to do after tonight to bring this work forward on your teams. And if you can't think of a step, like think about what support you need, and then we can help you find a step. So let's just, I'm going to call people because I can see everyone right now. So the first person I'm going to call on is Barbara, who I'm so excited to have met tonight.
And I am always excited to meet people. I think the first person I met was Max when I did training. So he was an awesome introduction to how fabulous everybody is. The next step is really sitting down with our group and using this tool to help us really get pinned down to what we are going to be doing, because we still have not picked a campaign or something that we're going to focus on. But I think this is going to help us give a lot of clarity and direction. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Thanks, Barbara. The next person I see is Kathleen. Can you go next?
We have a meeting with our CT in a week and a half, maybe a week. And so we already have this on our agenda for our topic of discussion. So we're gonna, I'll send it out to the team in advance so they can preview it. And then we did this last year in this way. And so we'll probably start by looking at our goals from last year. So I'll pull that up. And like I said, I don't look at that often enough. So that's like a goal for next year for me is to check in quarterly. But yeah, so that's my next step.
Awesome. Sue, you want to go next?
Yeah. We did some preliminary goal setting for impact goals earlier. So I think, and so we probably need to plug those into the spreadsheet to see where our gaps are and where we need to be more precise. I think personally, I want to do a lot of work on your resources and looking very hard at the stirring in people goals to see what makes sense for us. We have a CT meeting tomorrow, so I'm not sure how much of that will get done before tomorrow night, but we will continue the process. Thank you.
Atel, do you want to say something about Worcester?
Yeah, thanks, Betsy. So I think for Worcester, this will be a new experiment. So our next step will be to delve into and apply the strategies outlined here to our Gas Leaks campaign. So.
Yay. What about David?
Thanks, Betsy. I'm going to write this up so that I can let everybody and the rest of the Newton team know sort of what happened during the call, explain that there's this tool available, and try and get people to take a look at it and map the current goals of the team onto the tool. And I hope, we'll have something to say about progress in the next few weeks.
That's awesome. Joy, do you want to go next for Ipswich?
Yeah, well, first I need to look at this tool and really get familiar with it because it's so new. I need to spend some time with it and then pull out some questions that I want to bring to our team, so we can fill in the spreadsheet.
Awesome. And Sarah, I know Sarah's on this call, but her audio's not working. Sarah also asked me as the organizer who's working with this team in Ipswich to come and lead a meeting where we sort of dive more deeply into this. And definitely very excited about doing that for the Ipswich team, since you're setting goals for the first time this year. But the rest of the Massachusetts teams, let me or Janet or Attell know if you think you need some more support, whether that's a phone call or planning for a meeting. Okay, I think Stephanie is the call that Stephanie's on. You guys are next.
Which Stephanie?
Yeah, great. Monique and I realized that in advance of our November 14th COT meeting, we haven't come together for over 6 months, so we're a little worried about turnout. We need to prepare, and we're just talking about maybe trying to meet with Neely even before then to plan our meeting, because it could get very bogged down in like which strategy are we going to do before we even get into like our goals around that strategy. So just a lot of both preparation for using the tool during our meeting, and then also figuring we need to get people there. I don't know how we're going to get people to our meeting. So yeah,
call them.
Yes, we'll call them.
Threaten them.
Good tactic. There, I think, are at least 2 people left. Joni, do you want to go?
Sure. So my next steps will be to get in touch with Kim Miller and Kim Williams, and I think it's possible that they've seen this already. I'm not sure, but to introduce it to them and then discuss how to best bring it to the next leadership meeting.
And the last person, I think, is Kathy.
Am I off of mute?
You're off mute. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm with the people who feel that they need to do more research, but I really appreciated today for pointing out that we need to be more concrete in not just stating a goal, but how you're gonna get to it.
Great, and it sounds like Kathy's taking us right into a quick eval. If anyone needs to get off because it is 6 o'clock, go ahead. But otherwise, can we do a quick, like, what was good about this call? What did you learn? Like, what's the key learning, and what could have worked better for you that we can learn
So
next time?
one quick additional consideration that would be really helpful for the national training team and our training framework. If you could share if the goals were met, and I just put them in the chat. So yeah, if folks can stay on just about 5 more minutes, this kind of feedback and reflection is incredibly helpful to us. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, Betsy. It's all you.
No, that was helpful. It's sort of all you. I was just trying to make a smooth transition.
Okay. So we'll do this. We'll just do this quickly, and if everyone just were the goals met, and then maybe one quick reflection on how this training was for you. And Stephanie, I'll start with you.
This is the second time I've been on a big Zoom call that was training or organizing oriented with Mother Jaffa, and it's so powerful. I just have to say again, like it's amazing. I thought the training was great. I think it met the goals, and yeah, I have a couple follow-up things that I'll share over email or something that are more specific.
Let me add that one of my concerns was how would what we're already doing through the Clean Energy team mesh with this, and it became clearer to me that how it would be difficult.
I would also add, I really appreciate that the equity, racial, and economic justice goals are right out there for us to consider. So thank you, whoever made that happen.
Awesome. Thank you both. Joy.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited about this. I think you met the goals for the training, and I'm excited to use this as a strategy, to know what to do and when to do it and how to get from here to there. So I think it's going to be a really useful thing for our team.
Awesome. Thank you, Joy. David?
Yeah, this is very useful. I think I'm going to be curious to find out sort of how the rest of the group reacts to it, but I want to get them to at least take a look at the the tool. I guess there are some questions about the connection to Nation Builder because there's some learning curve connected with that, but that's a good thing to need to follow up on.
Thank you, David. Barbara.
Yeah, I really appreciate having connections and conversations with other people who are engaged across the country, have been doing it longer. When you're new to an organization, I think that is a lot of capacity building and shortens the learning curve to be able to share like that. So keep doing it. And I have a note that we need capacity building with more people doing the Nation Builder training. So yeah, so we need to actually, that's something each mom can do on their own and fit it into their time. And it seems like it's going to be important. So thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Kathy.
Well, I think I just apparently did it at the wrong time.
That's okay. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No.
Okay. Is Sue still on here or did she drop off? It looks like Sue might have dropped off.
Yeah, I think she had to leave.
Okay, that's fine because it is 6:04, so we're a few minutes past time. Before staff, Etel, Max, Betsy, Vanessa, do you have anything to add? I'll say I'm delighted everyone joined us. It's so wonderful to connect with moms outside of New York.
Oh, Neely, you froze.
Oh yeah, Neely did froze.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining, and I know I leave these calls so energized because on staff, you know, we do all the work to set all this up and to make this organization run, and it is that, you know, that you all are the heart of Mothers Out Front, and it wouldn't be happening without all the work that you're doing out there. So I feel unbelievably grateful and super excited about what I heard tonight. So thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.